Yeah, all right. Welcome to the show. It is Ringside Report. I'm Dave Simon. Fred Garcia's here. AJ DeLesio is here.
Bada bing, bada boom.
The championship show in the house. We're here on TSN 690. We're here on YouTube. We're everywhere. YouTube.com/Ringside Report, DOTNET. That's a YouTube channel. Subscribe. Like the video. Comment on the video. We are here. We just got a visit from our buddy Glenn, who started a new faction called the Glenn WO. So we are all rocking out in our Glenn WO Too Sweet t-shirts that he brought us. Chokes and jokes.
Exactly.
With the hashtag Ringside Report on the sleeve. So thank you to our buddy Glenn McKenzie for these Glenn WO t-shirts that are pretty sweet.
Very
Oh,
sweet.
they're nice.
They're nice.
Good quality.
Look, I was telling you, we need to find our own ripoff. Look, it's not even a ripoff. Everybody does it. I got the Eat, Sleep, Jiu-Jitsu, Repeat t-shirt, and that's not a Jiu-Jitsu shirt. You know, it's a Paul Heyman saying. We need to figure out how we put Ringside Report on that type of a t-shirt.
I like it.
Hey, wait. We've got to give like a shout out to Dominion t-shirts.
Yeah.
Jerry, in fact, for giving us the t-shirts for free, and for Glenn like stepping in tonight. We had to kick him out. Sorry, Glenn, but we'll have you back like in a couple of weeks.
We're going to have you back in a couple of weeks' time. He's got some things to announce. Glenn is a very active member of the jiu-jitsu community here in Montreal, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu community. He owns the gym out in the West Island, Gracie Baja West Island. He's got many students, right? Hundreds of students out there.
Hundreds.
Doing very well for himself is Glenn. And, so shout out to him. He's got things going on with, Fight Quest. He's bought a part of Fight Quest.
Yeah,
He's
it's
going to
called
handle
Glenn Quest or something like that.
Glenn Quest is taking over.
Exactly. Glenn Quest is
That's
taking
why
over.
we're here in the Glenn WO.
And a shout out to Glenn, because he's really the guy for the jiu-jitsu community. He understands the sport. He was part of Fight for Charity with myself in the days past where we raised money for like different charities across Montreal. Glenn's the man. July 6th, super grappling match. It's a 4-man division, a middleweight division. It's winner take all. Details to follow.
Glenn is actually the reason why you're on this show.
Hey, Glenn.
I met you through Glenn.
Did you meet Glenn first? No,
I met Glenn first.
Did you?
Yeah, because my jiu-jitsu coach at the time,
Who was it?
John.
Oh, John
Bossy.
Big John.
He said, "Oh, you should help these guys out and promote them on your show. These guys who have a jiu-jitsu event. It's for charity, right?"
Right.
We're getting a message. AJ, you're too far from the microphone.
Again?
Yeah, we're getting a message from our producer here saying you need to speak more into your microphone. It's really a problem for you, AJ. You're really not getting it right.
I need a stand mic. I need one that's on the table.
Yeah, everything's... Yeah, you need to get it together. Just talk right into your microphone, AJ.
Do you want me to repeat everything again? I said.
No, just keep on going,
not.
AJ. Don't repeat yourself. Once is enough. So you and Glenn were doing a charity jiu-jitsu event, and then
Many jiu-jitsu events.
Yeah, so my coach at the time said, "Hey, you should help out my friend Glenn." And so I said, "Okay, sure, that sounds like a good thing that I would do." And then I met Glenn, and then through Glenn, I met you. And then you kind of stuck around. You know, Glenn has been on the show in the past a few times. You know, you used to come on with Glenn.
Yep.
But you were always around. Like, you kept texting me when the show was on. Like, you were a fan of the show before you were kind of a host of the show,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then eventually I was like, all right, well, I know your stuff. You know
got
MMA.
2 tickets because of you
You're
guys.
A friend of mine, right?
Remember, I got 2 tickets because of you guys back in the days. Remember?
Oh, parking tickets?
Well, no, I got a speeding ticket because I had to pull over because I was listening to your show. And then the last time was when I got my bike ticket when I was biking.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
You remember that?
I remember that one.
So I was watching the show
What's
on a
even
bike path,
weirder?
and I got stopped.
What's even weirder is that Glenn has this great radio voice, really deep, and we chose you, AJ. But we love you.
Why do we choose AJ?
Because I gave you the envelope. Sorry, Glenn.
AJ made us an offer we could not refuse.
Hey, I'm Italian. What do you want me to do? But look, back to Glenn. I've worked with Glenn, and
he's a good guy.
He's an awesome guy.
And he hooked us up with these cool Glenn WO t-shirts. and we're very thankful for that. And we're gonna, see what Glenn does in the future. I know he's got some other stuff going on, some grappling events that are coming up, and we're gonna
July 6th.
July 6th. So we'll talk to him in the future a little bit more about that. But we have some MMA to talk about here over the next hour. We got a lot going on here, not just the Glenn WO taking over. I know the visit and the free shirts got you very excited, AJ, but we got to stick to the business at hand. There is some MMA to talk to. Rafael dos Anjos with a very nice victory over Kevin Lee last weekend. We had Sage Northcutt making his debut in ONE FC, getting KO'd. That was pretty rough. Cosmo Alexander knocking his face into several pieces, which, we could talk about. Paulie Malignaggi, speaking of knocking faces into pieces, he's going to fight Artem Lobov in some sort of bare-knuckle boxing match. You remember the last time Artem Lobov had a bare-knuckle boxing match, his face, what it looked like? And he wasn't fighting Paulie Malignaggi.
Like Edward Scissorhands.
I forget the name of the gentleman he was fighting that time. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but
the southern guy there. He was in the UFC for a bit. He and Lobov fought, man, I forget the guy's name.
I forget his name, but this time it's in New York State, I think, and it's going to be with gloves, but the knuckles are going to be
it's with gloves
exposed.
Right.
But the knuckles are going to be exposed because the commission wouldn't sanction it without these gloves. So
there's a lot of controversy with these two guys.
So it's going to be in the state of New York this time.
I'm pretty sure it's the state of New York.
No, I'm seeing Florida here.
Okay, so it might be Florida, but they got to wear gloves that are going to expose the knuckles, but they're still going to be like gloves.
So it's maybe just like boxing wraps. That's just about it.
Weird. Yeah. So this fight is actually going to happen. Paulie Malignaggi was a professional boxer.
Yep.
Right?
I expect him to win.
When's the last time Malignaggi boxed?
Well, the last time he boxed was I think it was with McGregor when he had like that whole controversy where he got knocked down by Conor.
Well, that wasn't boxing. That was training.
it was training, but it was boxing. They were going at it. Paulie is a fighter. He's not going to go down for no reason. But
so I'm going to give you an actual fact, AJ. You're just talking about a sparring session that happened. And you're also still not giving me an exact date, so you're not really providing me with any kind of info.
It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, about 2 years ago. So the last time Paulie Malignaggi had a professional fight, which this is what it's going to be. It was not 10 years ago. It was 4 years ago. It was September 26, 2015, so a little less than 4 years ago. He fought in Milan, Italy, and won against a guy by the name of Laszlo Fazekas. Beat him by unanimous decision. So Paulie has fought. He got TKO'd by Danny Garcia and Sean Porter back-to-back, 2014, 2015. But he's got wins over, Zab Judah and other boxers that he's fought in his career. Like, we're not a boxing show. We're an MMA show. But, this is kind of cross paths with MMA. Malignaggi is attacking MMA.
Well, he spit on
he spit on Artem Lobov, but I don't see Artem Lobov as a representative of mixed martial arts.
Well,
you know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, he was in the UFC. I mean, look,
this is more about Conor McGregor's
It's about Conor, exactly.
Against Paulie Malignaggi.
Malignaggi.
Right. So what happened was Paulie Malignaggi was brought in to be a sparring partner for Conor McGregor when he was about to fight Floyd Mayweather. Things, I guess, got out of hand in the sparring session, or Malignaggi didn't realize how hard Conor was going to go.
Well,
Malignaggi claims that he beat up Conor. Conor claims he beat up Malignaggi. We don't really know. I don't think they've ever released the full sparring footage, right? Just a few photos that were released by Conor's camp in the UFC that looked favorable to Conor McGregor. So that's all we really know about that altercation. As much as you, AJ, may want to dive deeper and give us some false info.
It's not false, man. There's video of Conor knocking him down. And it was...
Is there, though? Isn't it a push?
From different,
Isn't it a push?
Not at all, man.
I think it was a push. Fred?
Push? No one gets pushed like that, Dave, in boxing.
Or a slip?
Never. I mean,
it wasn't quite a knockdown.
Enough, and I can tell you one thing. He took it. He went down. And Conor is a southpaw, so he walked into it, and that's it. That's what people keep forgetting.
I don't want to argue about that. It doesn't really matter.
But what it comes down to...
It's inconsequential to the story right now about Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie Malignaggi, since then, has had beef with Conor McGregor. Even in the lead-up to the fight with Floyd Mayweather, Paulie Malignaggi was trying to get into it with McGregor, trying to angle for a future fight. Malignaggi could never get the fight with McGregor because, didn't really make sense for Conor. I guess it's not really worth it. They're not going to do it. But Malignaggi has resurfaced in this bare-knuckle boxing fight against Conor's boy and training partner, Artem Lobov. And Malignaggi is taking it as a sign that, hey, I'm a boxer and boxing is a better sport and I'm doing this for boxing and I hate MMA. And I don't know if he's doing this as a gimmick to sell the fight, but some of the stuff he's saying is absolutely ludicrous. He's saying that, well, boxing is a more dangerous sport because we never tap out and there's a lot of brain damage in boxing and a lot of people die in boxing and there's no deaths.
You might be right about that.
He's like, there's no deaths in MMA, so like boxing's a better sport. And I'm like, well, I don't think that necessarily makes it a better sport because it's more dangerous. I mean, maybe it is more dangerous.
More dangerous, yes. Better, I don't know.
Yeah,
look,
I don't know.
That was the big beef
I don't know
with-
what that really proves. Malignaggi talking about, like, it's weird to hear a grown man, a 40... Let's see.
What is it, 42?
Oh, no, 38. Wow, I
That's
thought
it?
he was over 40.
Well-
Because he's been boxing for, like, ever, right? So,
But look,
you know, it's strange to hear a grown man bragging about people dying. Like, he's talking about boxing deaths like a badge of honor for his sport as a reason why boxing rules and MMA sucks. It's really weird. He's really weird. He's really distasteful. And I kind of hope Artem Lobov puts a whooping on him. But I realize that he's a professional boxer. Artem Lobov is not. And this is a kind of boxing match where I would assume Malignaggi would have an advantage. And I'd assume Malignaggi is going to beat Artem Lobov quite badly and probably knock him out, right?
you're saying Paulie's going to knock out Artem?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I don't think
yeah,
that's
you
gonna
would
happen,
think
and
so.
I'm going to tell you why.
Floyd knocked out Conor.
Listen, no, he didn't knock out Conor.
He TKO'd him.
Okay, that's all
Whatever you
question.
wanna call it.
Overwhelmed him.
You know what I'm going to
He
say.
finished him.
All right. So
Check the record book, AJ.
I know. But what I'm going to say is this, is that Dan Hardy was probably one of the ones that was, you guys, nah, don't listen to these guys. What it comes down to is this. Paulie has very, very soft, small hands.
How many Paulie fights have you seen?
I've seen Paulie's fights, and I can tell you, when you've got like your gloves on, this is bare knuckles. When he hits Lobov's head, his hands are going to break. And by the time this fight ends, he's going to have 2 broken hands, and that's the end of the fight.
Wow, that's a really weird prediction.
That's a weird prediction, and that's exactly
Look,
what's going
I
to
got-
happen. This is bare knuckles. You're not. It's
Let's
not
not
a
waste-
boxing match.
That's not bad because boxers, you know, after time, their hands do take a beating because they're just constantly using their hands. They're constantly throwing punches. I could see where, you know, he may have some hand injury. I don't know. Has he had hand injuries in the past?
Absolutely.
I don't know his history.
Look, I would
What
tell
are you saying? You're saying absolutely based
Look,
on
in
what?
boxing,
based on fact or based on your gut feeling?
On my gut feeling.
Okay.
And I'm
Yeah,
gonna
see?
yeah. Well, you know what?
I'd like-
Exactly. So
I'd like to know. I'd like
listen.
to know his actual injury record.
my
Let's
gut
just
feeling
put
is
the
this.
mic to your gut.
Yeah.
Let's
Listen,
see
my
what your
gut
gut
feeling
says.
is this.
Grumble, grumble,
is that
grumble.
Lobov is going to win this fight. I mean, there's a lot of bad blood going on. There's a lot of marketing. This is the best thing that can happen for bare knuckles fighting.
That's your gut feeling.
But
Your gut feeling is
Artem is a
Lobov
much
is going to
bigger-
win the fight?
He's an MMA fighter. What people
But
forget
it's
is
still
that
a
boxing
fight
is boxing.
with hands only.
But in boxing, guys, in MMA, let's not forget, there's a lot of boxing. We have a lot of boxing coaches that train MMA fighters. These guys are very, very versed in boxing. They're not training with.
All right. Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think Paulie's going to win because he's the better fighter with his hands. He has a background in boxing. Now, in the end, this fight is not that important. I just want to go back to one thing you
Of
said.
course it's not that. It's a bare knuckle boxing match between an over the hill boxer and a
Exactly.
former
So let's not
UFC
give it too much-
a former very low level UFC fighter. I mean, I get it, but hey, it's a slow week in MMA, brother.
Exactly, but I want to go back to what you said about him being distasteful. And yeah, he might be distasteful, but this is the fight
He's
game.
spitting
This is
in
what
his
we like.
face.
A week ago, Deontay Wilder was bragging about, like, I could kill a man. This is a sport where I'm allowed to kill people. And everybody was like, oh, he's scary. And then he knocked out his opponent in like 15 seconds. Which was great, man. So, I mean, come on. Trash talk is part of the fight world. Like, let's
Yeah,
not-
but
I mean, Conor does a good job with
it's
that, right?
But I don't like the way Malignaggi does it, bragging about how boxing has more deaths. Like,
Well,
I
that's
find
not
it
good for the
Look,
sport.
I find it distasteful for an alive guy to be talking about other guys that do his sport that are dead.
Well, if
He's-
we have a
it's-
serious
it's weird.
discussion on it, I think boxing is the more dangerous sport. With that said, he's just trying to sell his sport. You know, he's a boxer. He goes back to the old arguments that we used to have like 10, 12 years ago.
But okay, what I don't like,
MMA.
Did you see that he's also saying that, Conor tapped in like 3 of his last 4 fights, and boxers never tap, and like Malignaggi doesn't understand what tapping out means, and that sometimes it is smart to tap out in a jiu-jitsu or a submission position. Like, I understand
it's a different sport.
It's a completely different sport, but his talking about, you tap out, you quit, it's like a weird understanding of tapping out.
Brain damage makes him tough. Basically, that's where he's going, and
but
it's
not
basically
only
the
that,
old
but it's also
football mentality where, hey, I'm gonna go run through a wall.
But it's also like when you're getting punched and you're sitting on the stool and you're thinking about going back to take more punishment, it's one thing. But when you're in a rear naked choke and you're getting choked and you're stuck, and you know that inevitably you're gonna go unconscious, and you choose to be like, all right, tap out. Like, that's a smart decision, and it's a completely different kind of decision than getting off the stool for the next round. You know what I mean?
But sometimes
it's a checkmate type of thing. It's like, okay, checkmate, you got me. Like, Paulie doesn't understand.
But remember,
like,
Matt Serra was critical of Conor tapping, and he's a jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, some people are just like wired differently.
Okay, but look, the first time Conor tapped to Nate Diaz, Conor was beat down, Conor was tired, Conor was done. He went for that lazy takedown because it was just desperation. That wasn't in Conor's game plan. That was a desperate move, and he didn't fight that choke too hard, but you could also understand, like, he was beat up and took a beating.
I understand why people tap. I tap every week at jiu-jitsu. It's normal.
Sometimes when you're tired and beat up, you quit mentally. You may not be beat physically, but maybe you quit mentally, and that's okay too. It happens. It's a fight, and the mental part is just as important as the physical part, and you got to train yourself for that.
But Dave, you also got to remember that sometimes what Paulie doesn't realize is that you don't have sometimes the time to tap out. This is a different sport. And there are times when I wanted to tap out, I felt it, but I was already, asleep. So the thing is this: Paulie doesn't understand.
I think that's happened too often to you, AJ.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'd rather be put to sleep than get brain injury by like thousands of punches, like
getting your brain rattled around.
Absolutely,
yeah.
It's a different sport, and there's a lot of respect for boxing. I love boxing, but Paulie's image of boxing is not going to help boxing. So what it comes down to, this is a different sport. It's not boxing. It's not MMA. It's bare knuckles fighting. It's a different way to fight in this game. And in my
let's not
opinion,
give too much importance
there's not
to Paulie's opinion on MMA.
Listen,
I mean, who is going to have an opinion on MMA?
Who cares about Paulie, really? All right, let's move on. AJ, I know you have a whole docket of things for us to talk about. You've prepared a whole list. You're always very well prepared. You got a whole stack of notes here.
We need to find a title
We
for
can
him.
see it here on the YouTube show, youtube.com/Ringside Report, DOTNET, by the way, is the YouTube channel. More info on our website, ringsidereport.net.
I'm the reporter in the report. Man.
Yeah, that's it.
It
You're the reporter here. You're here to give us the information we need about mixed martial arts. So what's going on in AJ's world?
Better than the big bird on the Muppet Show, the news anchor.
What?
You don't remember him? Okay. Oh, Dave is too young. Nah, he doesn't know. Fred knows what I'm talking about. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
No, you go ahead. I was asking you.
Yeah.
I know what the Muppet Show is.
Do you?
Of course.
All right. Do you know the bird, the anchor? What's his name? I can't remember his name, but he's...
Sam the Eagle.
Exactly. There you go, Dave.
Yeah. Titwillow.
Sam the Eagle.
Titwillow. Titwillow.
Listen, Dave Simon.
You know that song? Titwillow with Rolf the dog? Classic.
Sounds familiar.
No? You don't? YouTube it. Search it. It's great. Titwillow, Rolf the dog, Sam the Eagle. Classic Muppet Show. Okay, AJ? You try to doubt my Muppets knowledge.
Sorry, man.
I'm schooling you here, AJ.
All right, so here we go. What do I have next here? Let's talk about what AJ's
No,
talking
just give me the list.
You want to still keep on the boxing stuff? Here we go.
I don't want to keep talking about boxing. This is an MMA show.
No,
now, Fred and I,
it's a challenge out
Fred
to
and
Conor.
I told you before the show, we're like, AJ, we're going to come to you, and we're going to say, okay, AJ, what are we going to talk about? What's on the show? And you were going to list off some things that we're going to talk about. And now we're doing it. We're actually on the show.
You're putting
and you're
pressure on me
freezing.
here,
like
Dave
every
Simon.
time I put you on the spot to put something into effect,
Look,
you're
I'm
just like,
getting a rash
what?
from about this.
What's happening? Are you sweating? Are you okay?
No, I got a little itch in the back of the neck. It's called stress. So here we go. What we're going to talk about is
what
this.
did you want to talk about tonight, AJ?
I wanted to talk about Sage Northcutt.
Because you always have so many notes. Like, I want to dive into what's in AJ's
Sage
head.
Northcutt. Let's talk about Sage and what happens when you leave the UFC.
Okay.
There's a lot of people. This is my thing. There's a lot of people that say there's certain organizations that have better quality fights and a fight network than the UFC. So Sage coming from the UFC, you figure, well, he's the big deal and he's going to come into this organization and he's going to dominate. That wasn't the case this time. 29 seconds later, Sage Northcutt is still in the hospital as we speak, and he broke 30 bones in his face.
Yeah.
So
without looking at your notes, what's the name of his opponent?
I forgot his name. Some guy that.
But he's better talent than the UFC.
Well, can I do it? Can I do it?
Go ahead.
Cosmo Alexander.
Exactly.
Used to fight in Bellator.
Way back.
Kick-ass Muay Thai fighter. Very, very dangerous. And he looked way bigger than Sage Northcutt in that fight, too.
And Sage looked good. Like, he looked good physically.
Well, I
not
mean,
in the fight, but
okay,
like
but
he always looks good.
He always looks good physically. That's why Sage Northcutt is a star in MMA. And this is what's happened to Sage Northcutt. His stardom has surpassed his skill. Okay?
Yeah.
And I feel bad saying it. It's just the facts. Sage Northcutt
is only 22 years old.
Sure, but he's a star in MMA. He looks the way he does. He looks like a superhero, and the UFC made him into a star, right?
Right.
So he's worth money. If a promotion is going to spend money on you, they're going to put you against somebody good at some point, right?
Absolutely.
Now, ONE FC chose to put him against somebody good right away, and it worked out the way it worked out. Whether ONE FC wanted it to work out that way, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to push Cosmo Alexander, and I don't know. But Cosmo's like 40-something years old, so I don't know, right? How old's Cosmo? Do you know?
No
idea. Do I have
idea.
to get that too?
Yeah, look at it. I mean, he looked good, but the thing is that for Sage, where does he go from here? What happens to this guy? You know, this is not this is not a loss, you know, that'll get him back to the UFC like in the next couple of years. I don't know. I just feel bad for Sage. I think for a young fighter like him, yeah, he was put into the spotlight. That's the problem. You're absolutely right. But he's only 22 years old.
Don't feel bad for Sage. I'll tell you why you shouldn't feel bad.
Tell me.
Because he's probably being overpaid for his talent. And he's probably been overpaid throughout his career if you compare to his talent. Because he's a star because of his looks, because of his personality.
Right.
Which brought him a bunch of opportunities. And look, if he's not cashing in on them, what you like? You got winners and you got losers. Unfortunately, he loses more than he wins, you know? Especially at the big level.
Well, he has struggled, and the guy he fought, Cosmo Alexander, is 8-1 now as an MMA fighter. He's got a very long kickboxing professional record. He's only 37 years old. He is Brazilian. He started his career in Bellator, and he knocked out Sage Northcutt in 29 seconds. This is a guy with way more experience and way more skills inside the cage than Sage Northcutt. Sage did okay in the UFC. Like, you know, you could say what you want about him. He did have a winning record in the UFC. I'm looking at it right now. He's got 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, 2 losses. And then it's not like he got cut from the UFC. He left the UFC for more money for ONE FC, right?
Well, I don't
like,
know about that. Wasn't he released? I thought he was released. That was
No, his contract finished.
Well, I think his contract was done, and he went to ONE FC for the money.
Yeah, I mean, the UFC obviously wasn't like,
I think the
negotiating with him. So
I
what do you
think
want him to
maybe
do?
ONE FC offered him more money than the UFC was going to, and the UFC decided to let him go because they realized, well, this guy is only going to go so far for us. He's not going to be a world champion, right? But the problem is when you're making world championship money and you don't have world championship skills, you get put into tough spots, and that's what happened last weekend to Sage Northcutt.
Look,
I just find it weird that ONE FC, who like probably spent a bunch of money on this guy, would serve him up to this monster Cosmo Alexander. Like, of course, you can't predict fights ahead of time, but like, I don't know. Just size-wise, they seem so much bigger. Eddie Alvarez, maybe they're trying to promote Cosmo as their next guy. He is 8-1. He's on an 8-fight win streak. He lost his first fight. He's won 8 straight. Like, maybe ONE FC is trying to make Cosmo Alexander into something. He is 37 years old, but he's got the skills to really smoke some people.
Yeah,
so, you know, you can make this guy into a legitimate star. in
again,
your
it's the star
division
power.
here at 185, and
Yeah, but Dave, in the end, it's all about unfortunately.
well, Cosmo's a much bigger star now that he beat Sage Northcutt. Like
You're
maybe
absolutely
they
right.
brought him in as a high-priced jobber to elevate Cosmo.
I hope you're right. I mean, I
Look,
think it was the
poster
other
boys
way.
Not a
are
bad
gonna
move.
lose. Poster boys are gonna lose sometimes. Like you see Sage as a poster boy, as a guy that could bring MMA to another place if you want, because he has the charisma. Unfortunately, they don't always pan out. Like Sage is a good fighter, but
if I'm 1FC and I'm looking for a big name that's beatable, that looks really good, Sage Northcutt. Hey, everybody knows him. His contract's up with the UFC. He's got a winning record in the UFC. Sign him up, feed him to Cosmo, make Cosmo bigger. It's a win for 1FC. I don't know if that was the plan, but could have been.
I mean, unfortunately,
Could have been. I don't know if promotions are that devious either. Maybe they just thought it was a good fight, but man, he got demolished in that fight real quick.
Like Anthony said, he's 22, so if you're 1FC, once you signed Sage, you saw some potential still in him. You still said to yourself, like, this guy's 22, he's on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC.
Right.
Sage had some value, so it's just unfortunate he lost that fight.
But it's a dangerous spot to put an investment into, right? Like the UFC is very good at building stars. They don't usually put their stars into really compromising positions until they absolutely have to when they're at the top level, right?
Yeah,
like Conor McGregor didn't have to face Khabib until he had to face Khabib when there was no one else left. Conor didn't really have to face a high-level wrestler until he faced Khabib. Whether that did Conor any favors, I'm not really sure. You
in
could have that
yes.
discussion. In some ways,
Absolutely.
yes, because he avoided that type of fight, but in some ways, no, because he didn't get to practice against lower-level guys that do the same type of thing and get that kind of work in preparation for the best guy who does that in Khabib, right? Like Khabib's wrestling is top-notch. Wouldn't you want to practice against low to medium-level wrestler-type fighters before going against Khabib? And you could say, well, maybe he did that, the Chad Mendez fight, but that was a short-notice fight that the UFC didn't really set up for Conor, and that was at 145 pounds. This is a different type of deal. The Eddie Alvarez fight, maybe, but Eddie Alvarez throws hands and he has brawls. He's not a guy who's going to grind you down and wrestle you to death. Khabib was the first guy that Conor faced that employed that style, and he also happens to be the best guy. So the UFC did avoid giving that to Conor for a while, but I don't know if that was to his benefit or to his detriment.
But the UFC is also looking at, like, how long is Conor going to be in the game? He just came from boxing. It's been 2 years layoff. They're looking at, we need to make money from Conor now. Because win or lose, they made money. And to be honest, that's the next thing.
Mentality.
Conor is looking to come back. He's back in the news. He's talking with Khabib. He's like saying, forget about Poirier.
He's a lot on social media.
He's a lot. And everyone knows this has to be the fight. And I think this will be the fight. So, unfortunately for Dustin, Dustin is awesome.
Wait,
but the
stop.
money fight is Conor.
What? What do you mean? Dustin Poirier's not getting Khabib? Is that what you're trying to? Is that the AJ nonsense you're trying to roll out this week, man? What are you talking about?
Listen, like Conor is really talking to UFC. He's putting it out. Like Fred was saying, he's all over media. He wants to fight with Khabib. He wants that rematch, and he wants to fight in Abu Dhabi. So he sees the money. He wants to be back in the game, and the UFC will make that happen before it happens with Poirier. I hope it. Unfortunately, it comes down to
I don't
money.
think so. I don't agree with you.
I mean, we were talking last week about the UFC with their new ESPN deal. They don't really need to make big name fights.
Come on,
but
man.
I think right now they need to make a big name fight, and that's going to be it. That's going to be the card for 2019. It's going to happen, and Khabib is more than happy. He's actually throwing out messages saying, "I want Conor," and you know what? Let it happen. Let's see it.
Oh man,
Come on, guys.
what?
See it.
I thought this was a done deal.
It's not a done deal, man.
What?
Yeah, man. And you know what I'm going to tell you, Dave? You actually said something on your Twitter feed that a lot of people didn't think. What did they say? They said George might come back.
Yes, that was something else. That was something else that happened this week. But You bringing me this nonsense about Khabib
Sweet Jemima.
not fighting Dustin Poirier at UFC 242 and Conor McGregor getting the spot instead is very disappointing.
Why?
Because
Man, it's AJ speculation.
It's
Let's
speculation.
just keep it here for now.
It's speculation, but it's out there. I'm not saying
come on,
anything
Freddie.
else that
I mean,
other people are not saying.
What?
People
This
are
is
talking.
outrageous. This is not what I want to hear.
Why?
Conor McGregor and Khabib does not need to happen like 9 months after it just happened. It happened last, December? Does it need to happen again in September? It's ridiculous.
And I think Khabib's
10 months? Whatever. Like, no. I mean, I know Conor has been talking. He did an interview with, what's his name? Tony Khan, Tony Wonder. What's the guy's name? Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett.
What's the motivational speaker name? Tony.
Oh, Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Which I met, by the way. That's another story, AJ. I had a drink with Tony Robbins.
Whatever.
True fact.
We'll talk about it another day.
Awesome guy.
So Conor did an interview with Tony Robbins, right? You see
Right.
this? And Conor's talking about his strategy for Khabib. He could have done this. He could have done that. You know, his preparation was this. He was injured here. He wasn't fully prepared and da-da-da. So now, of course, Conor's getting the train talking, getting his people, getting all his fans saying, okay, well, Conor Khabib, this fight is going to happen. And now, I don't want to allow you, AJ, here on Ringside Report to bring us more AJ nonsense.
Wait.
Like Conor is going to get the shot at Khabib here in September at UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi.
I believe it could happen because that's the fight that's going to bring the most money to the UFC. Where I disagree with AJ is where AJ says Conor McGregor wants it because he wants revenge. No, Conor McGregor wants more money. All his recent decisions, from fighting Floyd Mayweather to coming back to the UFC to this rematch with Khabib, will all be about money.
Does he really need that much money?
Yes,
His
he
Proper
does.
12 is
Everybody
sold out
wants-
around the world. He's making more money from whiskey than fighting. There's no doubt about it. And just on
No.
another note, before I get
No.
attacked about the Tony Robbins thing, when I said I had a drink with him, Tony Robbins does not drink. He only has
Please
soft
explain to
drinks.
me how
Okay.
Conor's making more money from Proper
12, man.
Okay, so what are their numbers? You have any numbers on their
Listen,
sales?
I'm gonna tell you
Come on, he made
something.
like $100 million in his last fight.
in boxing, not in MMA, Fred. So let's remember this.
So
50
what
in
do you?
MMA.
That's
So,
the difference.
so hold on. So you guys are arguing about why Conor would want the fight? Is that the deal
It's
here?
all about pride, my friend.
Come on, guys.
That's what it's about.
It's about
That's what I
money.
think.
It doesn't matter. It
It's
shouldn't
about pride.
happen.
It shouldn't happen, but it's going to happen because there's
Listen,
too much money
with the
to
new
be made.
ESPN deal.
And
they need to
AJ,
have
you
a
really
big-
believe that it's about pride and honor for Conor, not
Yep.
about money.
Absolutely.
And that Conor's going to avenge his loss. That's AJ's opinion.
Connor, Fred, thank you very much. I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh, so you think Conor will win the rematch?
You know what?
Bet. When it happens, you're gonna bet, right?
wanna be
I'm gonna
honest.
bet.
We all
I'm
want
gonna
money.
bet.
We all
Yeah.
want money on that. Do you guys think Conor McGregor would beat Khabib in the rematch? Do you all think Conor McGregor would beat Khabib Nurmagomedov in the rematch? I don't. Freddie doesn't. But AJ, you do.
Look, it's going to be a second fight. Connor knows what to expect. People are going to be
Habib
saying...
knows what to
Khabib
expect.
knows
Khabib
exactly
knows
what to
to expect.
expect.
I mean, it's going to be a better fight. Khabib wants this fight too,
Let's
man.
talk now. How about let's talk after the fight, AJ? We'll talk about that when it
Let's
happens.
talk about it live. How's
Sure.
that sound?
I think Dustin Poirier should get the fight. Let's unify these UFC lightweight championships already. It's been so long. We've had interim champion after interim champion. Tony Ferguson was an interim champion. Conor McGregor was an interim champion. And then they unified with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Or was it Khabib the interim champion? I forget. There's been so many interim champions at 155 pounds, it's hard to keep track. And then we have Dustin Poirier, who's an interim champion, and I thought we were going to unify those championships in September at UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi. But according to AJ now on Ringside Report Radio, there are some people talking, there are some rumors going around that Conor McGregor might get that shot. I want to see Conor fight somebody else first. I don't want to see Conor fight Khabib right away. I'd rather Conor
Or what
fight...
if Conor fights Cerrone and loses?
Well,
then so be it.
but
Well,
that's
then
it.
there's not that big money rematch against Habib. That's why you
Exactly.
don't want to lose that rematch. That rematch.
Exactly.
So that's why Conor is
Exactly.
waiting for the Khabib rematch.
Oh, yeah, he's
Exactly.
going to take the
Fred
Khabib.
is absolutely right, and that's what it comes down to. Your stock is still at a high for Conor.
Conor
even though
could
he
lose
lost.
to anybody. Like, Conor could lose to Tony Ferguson. I could see that. He could lose to Cerrone. I mean, the Conor we've seen in recent years is a guy that's not 100% into his career. I'm sorry.
Look, and
Yeah,
that's-
you might be right. Well, you might be right. And if it is about money, then Conor should definitely hold out for that Khabib fight. I mean, hell, if it is about money, I also saw Conor McGregor saying that he believes he'd win the Floyd Mayweather rematch. So I'm kind of with Fred on this, AJ. I don't think it's about honor and respect with Conor. I do think it's about money. And I think Conor McGregor, if he's going for the money, he's going to go for that Floyd rematch because that made him the most money. And the Khabib fight won't make anywhere near what Floyd would again. So,
But he probably needs the UFC approval.
And look at AJ. He's the guy. You're the sucker, AJ. You want to see Khabib fight Conor again.
Proper 12, man.
You want to see Conor fight Floyd again. And
Yeah.
you think Conor would win both rematches even though he was handled in both fights in the first time.
Wow,
Just
handled,
go
I mean,
in the same night, huh? He could be both of them in the
that's
same
Conor
night.
McGregor, man. Let's be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest.
He's legendary.
He
He drove the snakes out of Ireland. Oh, no, that was St. Patrick. Sorry. Close enough. Fred?
top
Dave?
of the morning, AJ.
Top of the morning.
Top of the morning.
Wally, you know what I'm talking about.
We love you, AJ. We got to take a short pause here on the radio side on TSN 690. We got more MMA to get to, more in AJ's bag of tricks. So much AJ has prepared for us. Stay with us. And we pause for a moment.
Is the crazy sign
Let me do my breathing.
No,
Can I
it's
do it?
fine.
Can I do it to AJ?
You can do whatever you want.
What do you want to
Okay.
do?
We got to get back. Let's get back, all right? In 3, 2, 1, guys, we're getting back.
Let me do my yoga pose.
And welcome back. It's Ringside Report on the radio on TSN 690 and on YouTube at youtube.com/ringsidereport.net, youtube.com/ringsidereport.net. Go to the channel, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. You can watch Ringside Report now every Thursday at 8 p.m. We have a special show every Thursday. Fred, AJ, and I, we all go live on YouTube, so you can watch Ringside Report, and you can also listen to Ringside Report on Friday nights on TSN 690. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or on Google Play. You can go to our official website, ringsidereport.net, that the great Fred Garcia himself is revamping as we speak.
Genius.
There's so much going on right now in the Ringside Report network. Wrestling Uncensored, Dave and Johnny Live, Ringside Report Radio, What's Phantom in Japan, the UFC post shows, the WWE post shows. I hope you were with us this past Sunday after Money in the Bank. Johnny North and I were live after the WWE pay-per-view. We're live after every WWE pay-per-view. We heard from many of you after Money in the Bank, and we appreciate you staying up late after a long WWE pay-per-view with us for the post show. It was a lot of fun, and we did see the return of Money in the Bank of Brock Lesnar, who won the Money in the Bank ladder match. And I know, AJ, you're super excited about seeing Brock back in the WWE. And it's kind of what I was saying a few weeks ago on Ringside Report Radio when the UFC refused to give the money to Brock. I knew that's because Vince McMahon backed the Brinks truck into Brock Lesnar's hunting lodge and gave him that Saudi Arabia money to get him back in the fold for the Super Showdown in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which is coming up at the beginning of June on a Friday afternoon. Brock Lesnar most likely will be wrestling. I think Seth Rollins should be. I think it's official. If it's not official, it will be next
For the
week.
title?
Yeah, for the Universal title. I think Brock's probably going to be cashing in Money in the Bank and facing Seth
Cha-ching.
one-on-one for the Universal title at Super Showdown. I don't think they've made it official yet, but I think Monday night Brock is supposed to make an announcement, and we'll find out then.
It's good to see Brock back.
Can
but
I ask a quick wrestling question? I
Always,
was watching
always.
Money in the Bank. So basically, Bailey won the female fight.
The women's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah, exactly. But before that, there was who's the friend of Mandy Rose there? That was
Sonya Deville.
So could she just go get the briefcase and give it to Mandy?
Yes.
I mean, come on, be
Well,
smarter.
You don't remember the first women's Money in the Bank ladder match when James Ellsworth, it was the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, so everybody was really happy, and they were talking about, women and doing more women's wrestling, and then a man won the match because James Ellsworth, who was Carmella's manager, climbed up to the top of the ladder, grabbed the briefcase, and then gave it to Carmella, who was waiting. down.
And Carmella was declared the winner.
Yes,
Yeah, well, that's a good manager, man. Come on.
that is a good manager or a good tag team partner player.
It's good to see
sure.
Brock back, that's for sure.
Good
But
to see
Dave,
Brock back in the WWE. Unfortunately, it seems like he won't be fighting in the UFC anytime soon because Brock Lesnar reportedly retired from the UFC.
Makes sense.
Right? And I know you have a lot of things on your mind, AJ, and your bag of tricks, but I wanted to get to another guy who's supposedly retired that's making some news, our main man, Georges St-Pierre, because Khabib's manager, according to ESPN, Khabib's manager saying that Khabib plans to fight September 7th in Abu Dhabi. He didn't quite say against who. Maybe Conor, maybe Poirier, but it might be Conor. And then they may fight George by the end of the year.
See, that's what I'm saying.
So I know the
possibility.
previous plan for Khabib's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, was to take on, I think, Poirier, someone else, and then George at some point in 2020. But now they're talking about fighting George by the end of the year, maybe in November or December. So I don't know. I know Georges St-Pierre said it was the fight that he wanted. Khabib's management are trying to make plans in the future to fight Georges St-Pierre. I think that's a fight that should happen, and I like that Khabib's management is keeping that talk alive. I like that they're interested in that fight. I like that there is potential. I know that George is interested, and I'm sure is still interested and still in shape and ready to go. I think George would take that fight if it were offered to him. I've always maintained that this Georges St-Pierre retirement is bogus. I asked him at the retirement press conference, George, if Dana said, here's Khabib, can you fight Khabib? Would you come back? George said, yeah, I would come back right away. But then he said, okay, well, the business arrangement had to be perfect and this and that. But basically, George said, yes, he would entertain the offer, that he's not really retired.
Just the offer wasn't there. That's all it was.
So all we're waiting for is Uncle Dana. Uncle Dana needs to help us out and make this fight happen.
And Uncle Benjamin.
Khabib and his people want it. George and his people want it. The only guy that doesn't want it for some reason is Dana White. Who's Uncle Benjamin? You talking about my son's uncle?
No, man, Benjamin's
That's
American.
my brother you're talking about.
Oh, Ben is a really cool guy.
My son's uncle, Uncle Benjamin.
Uncle Ben.
Uncle B.
Uncle Moneybags. But
that's what we call him, Uncle Moneybags.
Uncle Moneybags. But what it comes down to is right. Like you said it to him when you posed that question to George, and he answered back. I mean, that comment that he said has been carried out all through like the world. They always go back to George saying, I'll be back for sure. But the money wasn't there. And if the money's there, George will be back.
Thank you for giving me the credit on that. Many people use that quote.
In fact, they made a cartoon out of it. And
did they?
They made a cartoon.
Oh, yeah, there was a cartoon about it.
And that was it. I'll be back.
The one question that I asked, the quote from George, like pretty much every story in MMA that was written about the press conference was like, hey, George would come back. How about that? So it was like all using the quote from,
You need to put that on air so people can hear the actual words from George. So
we've heard it many times. We've heard it many times on the show.
Listeners and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll play it again.
But Dave, I was gonna say one thing. I know you were on the WWE thing and everything, and I didn't want to jump.
Yeah, let's get back into. Should we get it back into AJ's bag of tricks, Freddie?
Yeah, let's get back into AJ's tricks here. But the most important thing is that we have some sad news. There's
this is not bag of tricks. This is just sad news.
But this is important because this affects our show. We lost a listener. Unfortunately, he was a big fan of Wrestling Uncensored. He loved WWE. He was a big Lesnar fan. Shout out to Gart Ballantyne. Unfortunately, Gart passed away yesterday. Awesome guy. I love the guy. He was fantastic. So to Gart, the Ballantyne family,
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Garth Ballantyne. Yeah, awesome guy. Really big fan of the show.
It's sad when we lose a listener. It's sad when we lose anybody in the Ringside Report Wrestling Uncensored universe. You've made me quite sad now. Poor Garth.
I have to say it, but it's important.
Well, rest in peace, Garth. We, our condolences to your friends and family. And
well, he always loved Roddy Piper, so hopefully he's up there wrestling with him now.
Yeah, I hope so.
And I just want to say I feel bad for this man and his whole family, but this is another proof that AJ doesn't know how to do radio, because this is the type of thing we should have went for to finish a segment. Now the show's sad.
No, it's not sad.
You just made the show sad.
What are you talking about?
Why are you making the show sad, AJ?
Come here, Freddie. Give me a hug.
All right. Next subject. What's on your list?
He's a hairy man, Freddie.
What else do you got in your bag of tricks?
Most important, the bag of
what
tricks.
else is going on in MMA?
There was almost a robbery in South Africa. So our good friend Michael Bisping, I don't know if you heard the news, he was out in South Africa doing some movie called The Warrior or whatnot. He was out with some friends. They went out for Chinese food. He was complaining about going to eat Chinese food.
Yeah, he said he doesn't like Chinese food.
He doesn't like Chinese food. And
well, who doesn't like Chinese food?
Seriously, who doesn't like Chinese food?
Fred, you like Chinese food?
Love it.
Do you know where the best Chinese restaurant?
Pineapple chicken.
Is? I love it.
Yeah, I like pineapple chicken.
Spare ribs.
I like
chicken balls.
I like
those
some
ribs there.
Cantonese chow mein.
You like chicken balls, Dave?
You know those ribs and like the
Dave
sweet
likes the chicken
sauce?
balls.
No.
Those little. Oh, I love those.
Spare
little
ribs.
Yeah, spare ribs.
Yeah, of
Love
course.
them.
Ribs. I like the.
But I didn't know chicken.
I like the
balls.
salt and pepper seafood. You know they got the fried spicy
that's
seafood.
the cuttlefish.
Oh no, it's like shrimps and squid and sometimes scallops.
I
Cantonese
prefer
chow
the
mein?
cherry sauce to the plum sauce.
Ooh, I'm sure you
just say
do.
that.
I'm sure you do, Fred.
Let's go for dim sum, guys.
Why don't we just go? You know
You
what?
guys ever go for dim sum?
Yeah, a long time
It's
ago.
like dumplings
It's
and
like
stuff?
chicken,
Tremendous.
I don't know, chicken feet or not.
All right, back to MMA. So Michael Bisping went out for Chinese food and almost lost his life over some dim sum.
Well, it wasn't dim sum. It was just regular American
Chicken chow
style.
mein.
Yeah, exactly. So he's coming back apparently, and
American
he's in a taxi.
style in South Africa? How do you know his American style wasn't South African style Chinese food?
Well,
which
it
I'm
could have
sure
been.
is like different, I've heard Cuban Chinese food is a whole different thing.
Cuban Chinese?
Apparently,
Never heard that in
Cuban
my
Chinese
life.
food, yeah.
We should call Will Romero to see if that's actually true.
Let's find out. Any Cuban Chinese guys out there?
Give us a shout out.
Are you
Ringside
Cuban
Report.
and Chinese?
And if you have a restaurant and you want to promote on Ringside Report,
Chinese
just give us a call.
Chinese people go to Cuba too,
Yeah, you're right.
Why not?
There's only 1 billion of them for sure. They're all over the place.
Over 1 billion.
Over 1 billion. There you go. Lots of Chinese food. Bruce
Respect.
Lee, you remember Bruce Lee, the original MMA guy.
I mean, you're probably not allowed to. No, I think we have listeners in China. We do have listeners
remember
in China.
we had like a comment?
I was wondering. I was like, are we banned in China? Are we allowed to be on
Not
in
yet.
China?
We're not banned yet.
No, I think we do have listeners in China. From the stats that I have received from the podcast, we have podcast listeners all the way out in China. So we love you out in China, and we love Chinese food. Although our Chinese food is probably different than your food,
Well,
and you probably
American
just
style.
call it food.
And we just call it Chinese food.
Well, yeah.
On that note, if
Michael Bisping.
Oh, I was gonna say something else. Yeah,
No, Michael Bisping.
Let's get back to Michael. So poor Michael, he's coming back by taxi, and it might have been a setup apparently. So what the taxi driver did is that he dropped him off, like really like a couple of blocks before his hotel, and just said, "Okay, you got to get out here, and you got to go that way, whatever that way was." Michael got out, and he's like, "Where the hell am I?" And then as he was getting out, he got surrounded by about 15 like homeless guys, and one of them said, "Listen, if you want to live, give me your money." And then another car pulled up apparently and told Bisping, "You come into the car, come into the car." And Bisping was like, "Forget it, man. If I get into this car, I'm probably going to be missing." And it just goes to show you, MMA fighter, I wouldn't want to mess around with Bisping, but the guy wasn't stupid.
But if
and
you're
that's
like,
what it comes
there's
down.
15 of them,
15 of them.
and they know what they're doing. This is what they do.
That's what they do. So Bisping, I don't think will be walking the streets of South Africa again.
Well, apparently he was in a neighborhood where you're not supposed to be walking around at night, and it's kind of a dangerous place near his hotel. But what happened was, and I heard the story from Bisping, he
just ran.
He just ran and then somehow found his hotel. He was drunk and he didn't know where he was, and then he somehow found his hotel. He got to the hotel, he ran in, and
that was it.
And then he was fine. But now, see, Bisping's story is a cool story and it's interesting, but like he also talks about stumbling around and being very drunk. So who knows what really happened? He says it was 15 guys. Could have been 3. Who knows how wasted Bisping was? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But
like
you know
Bisping's account of the story is still like, I was super wasted. I had Chinese food. It's 3 a.m. in South Africa. So Bisping's account of the story cannot be 100% trusted. It's kind of like when you tell a story. I'm not sure whether to trust it 100% or not.
Tony Robbins, 100%.
You have proven some things for me. Like you do know our good friend, Mr. Harvey Keitel.
He's my buddy, man.
He's a good
Me and
buddy.
Harvey are like this.
Yeah, you and Harvey Keitel are friends, and you did show me some proof, which was very impressive.
That guy is so cool. Actually, put on your glasses. You look like a young Harvey Keitel.
For those not watching on
He does.
YouTube,
Freddie, I'm
for
telling you,
those
look
just
at this.
listening on the radio,
Look at that.
AJ wanted me to rock the shades, and since we're wearing our cool Glenn WO shirts, I thought a little
Glenn.
Hulk Hogan shades should work as well.
Shout out to Harvey Keitel. Hashtag Harvey Keitel.
Got these Versace shades, AJ.
AJ, I'm telling you, I'm going to bring Harvey on this show. Or we're going to go for Chinese food.
We're going to bring Harvey in here. We're going to have some Chinese food with Harvey.
That'd be awesome, man.
We'll take Harvey to a good place.
Stories, by the way.
We'll go to Shea Ping with Harvey.
That'd be interesting.
Shea Ping is good.
He's good friends with Al Pacino. Maybe we could bring him along.
Shea Ping 1 or 2.
Joe Pesci. That would be awesome. We should go for Italian with Joe Pesci.
I would love to meet Joe Pesci.
And Matt Serra. Imagine those two guys together. It'd be awesome, man.
Yeah.
AJ,
Let's start
Dave.
with getting Harvey Keitel on the show, all right? I know he's listened. I know he watches the show, but
he's a cool guy, man.
And
I
this
be
is
like Harvey.
Like, this is not like a joke. We're not kidding around when we say AJ actually knows Harvey Keitel. AJ knows the famous Hollywood actor Harvey Keitel, and he has shown me proof. Now, I am not at liberty to show you this proof, but, like, I'm not kidding, okay? I'm not joking at all. This is 100%.
But he's such
AJ
a cool guy, man.
knows Harvey Keitel, and it is, when he showed me the proof, I was shocked, right, Fred? Like, we were shocked that he actually wasn't lying, because I just figured you were lying about this, because a lot of the stories you tell are just unbelievable.
Listen,
right?
Man,
because
AJ's had a long. If I tell you some of the stories,
I know
I've had a long, crazy life.
And you know what? I'm starting to believe.
I wouldn't say long. I want to still stick around.
I'm starting to believe like 60% of it.
Go up, Dave. Go up.
75
go up like my Conor
to 80.
Beating Khabib. So going to be around
no.
90%.
Your fight picks are still ridiculous. You picked Gustafsson to beat Jones, and then you picked that other guy to beat Jones. Who is it?
Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith.
Yeah. So
that was real easy for John Bones Jones, wasn't it? Are you still picking Thiago Santos, or are you coming to your senses?
Well, yes, we have it recorded that I said, who am I going for? I said Bones Jones.
Well, that's good.
2 out of 3.
You know what's going to be a really tough fight for you to call?
Which one?
Alexander Gustafsson versus Anthony Smith coming up June 1st in Stockholm, Sweden. That's the next UFC card, by the way. We don't have a UFC card coming up this weekend. The next show is June 1st in Stockholm, Sweden. Alexander Gustafsson versus Anthony Smith.
And I think Gustafsson lost his last fight when he was fighting there, right?
He lost in his hometown. Sweden, you mean? I don't know. He lost his last fight, which was against John Jones. No, Anthony Smith also fought John Jones in his last bout and also lost. But Gustafsson's last fight in Stockholm was a victory over Glover Teixeira by knockout. So
no, I think it was the prior one.
He has lost in Sweden before. Anthony Johnson knocked him out in Sweden, and I think, but he has won in Sweden as well twice. Beat Thiago Silva there the first time the UFC went there, and then lost the second time they went there. It was a pretty devastating knockout by Anthony Johnson, and that's why I think you remember it. Yeah. But he also knocked out Glover Teixeira last time he was in Sweden. So he does have a winning record in his home country. But I do kind of feel like you. Like, I feel like, Gustafsson's not good in Sweden. It's mostly because Anthony Johnson just demolished him with a punch that was in the main event, and everybody was like, ooh, like the arena went quiet and they looked very sad, you know? To see like 20,000 Swedes look real sad because a man like Anthony Johnson just smashed their hometown hero. It was like a sight to see because Johnson he had so much power and he knocked Gustafsson cold. It was a highlight reel knockout.
IKEA closed down.
Nasty.
That's how bad it was. I mean, it was horrible.
They stopped serving meatballs that day.
That's it. No more Swedish meatballs. No more furniture. Nothing. IKEA.
I think that's offensive.
It is.
Stop being anti-Swedish.
I'm not anti. What are you talking about?
I'm pro-Swedish, just in case anybody's wondering. One of my best friends is Swedish.
Yeah.
Well, his dad is from Sweden, so respect.
Respect.
Doesn't look Swedish though, if you know what I mean.
Isn't the guy from the cook from the Muppet Show like from Sweden?
No.
Hey, Dave, the cook from the Muppet Show.
He doesn't look Nordic at all. Doesn't look like he's not ethnically Swedish, I guess. I don't know.
You didn't hear me, eh?
He's not a Viking. He's not Viking descendant. What are you talking about?
I was going to say we were talking about
AJ
the Muppet
just kind of trails off on the show, Fred. Have you noticed that? AJ, what else do you have for me in AJ's bag of tricks? We are running short on time, AJ. What else do you got?
Most important is I'm going to give a shout-out to one of our listeners, Louis Pringle, who
You're just giving shout-outs now?
I'm giving a shout-out. You know why I'm going to give him a shout-out?
News.
That is news.
Skip. No, skip.
Listen,
Come on.
No.
Skip.
Give some love to your girl,
AJ.
Fighter,
you know you want to.
This is going to be the fighter of the year.
AJ, skip.
Fighter of the year.
We're short on time.
Pereira, UFC.
AJ.
Future fighter.
Okay,
yeah,
so
TKO.
no love for Corinne.
Oh yes, TKO coming up. Poor Dave, he's getting upset.
I'm getting upset because we're
TKO.
telling you to skip. We're telling
Shout
you
out to Stefan
what we
Patry.
need to do, and you're just giving shout-outs to people.
No, man,
Stick
I'm
to
just
the
talking
news,
about
stick
the
to
fighter
the
of the
subject
year.
at hand. When Fred and I veto you, when you're outvoted, that means you have to
That
skip
happens
ahead.
all the time. So the TKO
Yeah.
MMA happening in Gatineau tomorrow night. Awesome card. We've got Cyril Gane that's fighting Roger Souza from Brazil. That's going to be one
the
heavy
heavyweight
fight.
champion of TKO, Cyril Gane. And this is happening when, TKO? Friday
Tomorrow-
night in
yeah,
Gatineau.
Exactly. It's going to be an
Tomorrow
awesome fight.
night, if you're listening on TSN 690, it's happening tonight. It's going to be a good fight. That guy that Cyril Gane is fighting is 8-1. I don't know him, but hey, 8-1 Brazilian. Looks like a beast. This should be a good fight.
Yeah, but let's not forget this is Cyril Gane. He's one big
Why? Because you
heavyweight.
shook his hand and talked with
did.
him a little bit. Now you're
Absolutely.
like you're in his
Fanboy
fan
alert.
club, man.
Exactly.
Fanboy
All right.
alert.
And let's give a shout out to everybody else on the card. Obviously, Jason. What's her
3
name?
title
Jade Masson
fights.
Wong that's fighting tomorrow night.
Jade Masson
against
Wong
Mandy
fighting
Bond.
for the TKO title.
Yeah, fighting Mandy from Germany.
Cool.
We've got Josh Hill fighting Jesse Arnett. It's going to be an amazing card tomorrow night.
And
We've
Corinne
got
Laframboise
Corinne
is fighting?
Laframboise is fighting tomorrow
Nice.
night. I mean, shout out to Corinne. Hopefully, we can have her on the studio again.
Cool.
Maybe we'll put out her
Any
interview.
other news tidbits, AJ?
tidbits?
Any other AJ shout-outs you want to do?
shout outs?
We're running short on time here, AJ.
Well,
We're
I
wrapping
wanted to
up.
talk about Pereira. What did you think about this guy?
How about
coming into the
RDA
UFC?
beating Kevin Lee? We haven't even
exactly.
mentioned
We
that.
forgot about that. That's
yeah, I think
absolutely
that's
right.
more important.
Do
RDA
you
with a
think?
nice victory over Kevin Lee last weekend in the
Can
main
I say
event
I'm
of
not
the
a
UFC
fan
card.
of Kevin Lee?
Why?
You can say it.
Because like he was on he did an Instagram video or something where he's just like questioning, but I don't know. The guy just like
Questioning what? Life?
himself. Yeah, I don't know.
Too emo for you?
Yeah, he's a little too much for me. And
But he's 26 years old, this
and
guy.
other
He's
than
young.
that Edson Barbosa win, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of impressive wins to his resume.
But-
so I don't know. I'm not a big fan of him.
But we got to
Sorry.
give a lot of props to RDA. I mean, this guy
He looked good?
Looked good. He looked like
Yeah, RDA is a great fighter.
he looked like the old RDA new today. I mean, it was awesome. This
Okay.
guy was like, he fought well. We got to give a lot of credit to Kevin Lee because he came out strong.
Why?
He was fighting well. It wasn't like
Was
it was
he?
a look. The only thing I can say is that if you could beat somebody like RDA, that would have been awesome. But he still managed to go the distance with him, and then it was a
He
different
didn't.
story.
He tapped.
Well, he tapped.
He tapped.
But
He didn't go the
fought-
distance.
No, the
he got
fourth
tapped
round-
out in the fourth round.
Yeah, exactly. He went 4 rounds, and he was doing.
He went
pretty well.
3.5.
Yeah, but you know what? Either
It's
or.
okay.
RDA did
Look,
very well. It was a-
RDA is one of the best in the game. He's still one of the top welterweights in the division. Unfortunately, he's coming off back-to-back losses to 2 of the other guys in the top 5, Kamaru Usman, who's a current champion, and Kobe Covington. Like, RDA is still one of the best guys at 170 pounds,
Absolutely.
and he was a former champion at 155. Unfortunately, I don't think he beats the upper echelon, but he's still going to be one of these guys in the top 5 that's going to be extremely hard to beat. If you can get a win over RDA, if you can beat him, it's going to be big. If you can't, well, you're going to be outside of the top 5, maybe lower part of the top 10, maybe top 15, depends who you are.
But
Elsewhere at that UFC Rochester card,
Best
we
prelims
had
ever.
our guy from Montreal, Charles Jourdain, a unanimous decision loss to Desmond Green in his UFC debut.
I don't
It
agree.
was a tough fight. It was a close fight. Jourdain looked good.
he did look good.
And I think, undersized for 155. When we see him next time, I think it'll be at 145 pounds. We saw him there in TKO.
he signed, I think, 3 fights at 145.
Good. I think he's going to do very, very well at 145 pounds in the UFC. So shout out to Charles Jourdain.
Good job.
An unfortunate loss here in your first UFC fight, but he took it on short notice. He had fought very recently. And again, I think he's fighting a little over his weight limit. I think he should be fighting at 145. So, those knocks against Jourdain, he was a huge underdog going into the fight. We kind of figured it
was
would
like
be
minus 900.
It would be a tough. It was a tough first outing for the UFC, for Charles Jourdain. But I think next time we see him,
But it was a good
it'll
fight.
be a different story. It was a good fight. He looked good in it.
And that whole prelim, that
Like
whole card
he did,
was awesome.
he did better than I thought. A lot of people, I thought he would, maybe get stopped because Desmond Green is a top 155 pounder. He fights in the UFC like he's a dangerous guy and he's big.
Good wrestler.
But Jourdain, he held his own. He fought very well.
Oh, absolutely. And he scrambled out of, I think, of I think there was 3 takedowns on him, and he scrambled out of those 3. So
now you were impressed by another guy in the card?
That's it. I keep saying it, and that's where I was trying to get to.
Get
Louis
to it.
Pringle, shout out. He's absolutely right. This guy here is going to be the future of the UFC.
Who?
Pereira. Pereira was awesome.
What's his first name?
Michel, I think. Michel Pereira. He's
Who
from
is he?
Brazil.
Who did he beat?
What do you mean, who did he beat?
You don't even know.
He's right here. Who did he beat? I'll tell you.
Right here in your
exactly who he
notes,
is.
you're going to look it up. You're going to
It
read.
doesn't matter who he beats.
It's okay.
This guy here is going to be the next Johnny Walker, and this is what's
The
interesting.
next Johnny Walker.
The next Johnny Walker.
Are
He's
we
gonna be
already calling Johnny Walker like somebody? So we need to find
He
the
is.
next Johnny
Can we
Walker.
call him Jack Daniels?
You know, that would be awesome. I was trying to actually, Fred, you took the words out of my mouth. I was trying to think, what can we call Pereira? What was that drink in
come on.
Brazil? The Pinero. What is it called?
How about Pina Colada?
Pina
No,
Colada?
how about Michel Perrier Pereira?
Exactly.
All right?
There
Not
you
everything
go.
has to be alcoholized, all right? You don't have to have Johnny Walker and another alcohol guy. Let's just give him another drink name. Michel Perrier Pereira.
Perrier.
French it up. Class
What?
it up a little
Oh
bit.
my God, that
no,
sounds so
Fred?
flat, bubbled out, man.
Bubbled out.
Not too down
No.
with the Perrier.
You don't like the Perrier nickname?
Nah, it sounds nah. That doesn't
Oh,
sound
that's good. I like it.
I like the Pina Colada thing. That
I'm
was
reading though that
interesting.
MMA might go to France in the next year. So.
Finally,
So
that
they're
sport
legalizing it
it's
there?
been illegal
Well, it's
for
getting
years.
closer.
But that's
Good.
in fact, it's good that you're bringing that up because that's where Cyril Gann comes from. He's
Cyril
from
Gann,
France.
Francis Ngannou.
You know, they have good training camps out there. We have like,
Definitely.
so many guys that are training out of France, and if they legalize it, we could see a whole breed of fighters coming out of there. I mean, Brazil, you know, we got a whole bunch of new talent, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Andrade did very well against Rose, but I mean, you know, I know. I have to.
All right, AJ.
Yeah.
All right, you're just kind of circling around
Nah,
yourself, and we
'cause,
got to
you know,
wrap this show
Rose
up, AJ.
is gonna win the next one.
Are we? Oh my God, you cannot handle it. You can't handle being wrong. And whenever you're wrong, you're like, well, it was an anomaly. You don't say anomaly. You use another word, and then you say next time I'll be right, and it was a fluke, and it shouldn't have happened, and. Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened.
Okay, AJ, that's okay.
I'm not going to talk about the tap out.
We got to wrap this sucker up. Go to ringsidereport.net. Follow us there. Follow AJ at Danny Bruck on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Fred at Freddie MMA. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dave Simon MMA. Go to our YouTube channel right now. Subscribe to the channel. Like the channel. Click the little bell. If you click the little bell when you subscribe to the channel, you'll get alerts
And free donuts.
whenever we go live. All right, so you click the bell, and then every time we're live on the channel for a Ringside Report show or a YouTube post show or Dave and Johnny live or whatever it may be, you'll get an alert. So you'll be right there with us.
Sounds scary, Dave, but okay.
What?
If you say so.
What? So big shout out to Glenn McKenzie for these sweet Glenn WO Chokes and Jokes t-shirts.
And Jerry.
And Jerry
From
Dominion Printing, Dominion t-shirts for hooking us up with the little Ringside Report logo on the
So
sleeve.
cool. What
Very
is it?
cool.
Here it is.
And also a big shout out to Jimmy and Marco back at TSN 690 for helping us
Jimmy!
out as usual. I think it was mostly Marco tonight.
Marco.
So not really
Marco.
Jimmy. Thank you, Marco. We love you, Marco. Jimmy, you know,
Love
whatever. And thanks to you for watching and listening. For Fred Garcia and AJ DeLesio, I am Dave Simon, and this has been Ringside Report. Alrighty. And we're still here.
We are.
That was the radio show. This is the post show.
I got to go to the washroom. Is this going to be weird?
No, go to the washroom. We're still on YouTube. This is the post show. So
As you get older, you know, things start to
AJ,
activate
again.
a little bit more.
Yeah, go. We'll talk about you when you're gone.
No, I don't want to go now.
No, go. It's okay.
You're
We're
scared?
still on YouTube, AJ, right? See, AJ, we talked about this before the show. We said as soon as we're live on YouTube, it's going to be like the radio show. We're going to talk about MMA. It's going to be Ringside Report Radio. And then after we're done recording the radio show, after we have the hour slot,
We can swear.
we're going to swear and we're going to berate you.
Why me, man?
No, I'm kidding. But, you know, we're going to do a post show, a wrap up of what we just did a little bit. And, you know, fill out any odds and ends, any extra shout outs you wanted to send out. And then we'll wrap up the show here on YouTube for all of you watching and watching live. You get a little bit of bonus. You get to see the recording of Ringside Report Radio, and you also get to see what happens during the breaks and after the show. And that's what we're doing here.
We're just missing
live on the
Nerf guns.
YouTube channel. Well, I've got Nerf guns in the other room. We don't need them right now. We got belts, brother. We've got belts. We all have our championship belts. We all have cool sunglasses. And we had a song that we were doing before.
yeah.
Wait, who's fighting Greg Hardy?
What's his name? Juan Adams or something like that.
Juan Adams.
Juan Adams.
Juan Adams.
Jose.
I thought it was Jose.
Oh no, it's Juan. Juan Adams.
I thought his name was Jose.
Well, close enough.
I thought we were going to sing, no way. Jose, no way. Jose, no way. Jose, no way. Jose.
Woo! Sponsored by Jack Daniels.
See, we
and
started
Johnny
doing
Walker.
that, and AJ was like, what is that? Oh, that's great. I love that. It was like, no, there's a guy named No Way Jose. He's
Actually-
like, oh, I'm going to steal that. I'm like, you can't steal it. There's a WWE wrestler currently named No Way Jose, and that is literally his theme
Jose,
song.
No way.
Wait. Jose, no way. Jose, no way. Jose.
Woo! You know what? I wanted to use that when we first started like the show. I was gonna be like, David's
No
gonna
way.
introduce us, and then I'm gonna just start screaming, "No way, Jose!" But then, what are you guys doing? Watching basketball?
Fred's
This is
watching
what the problem with these
basketball?
guys. I don't watch basketball.
I don't watch basketball either. Fred, how long have you been watching basketball?
Since the show finished.
Okay, only when the radio show ended. You realize we're still on YouTube Live right now, Fred, right? And you're watching a basketball game?
What is it?
Go
29,
Raptors,
34, man. In the
Series
second.
is tied 2-2, man. Come
What
on.
about hockey, man?
And the
You guys
Raptors are
watch
losing
hockey?
right now?
Yeah,
For
unfortunately.
now,
Oh,
but it's
man.
only the second.
Wait,
man.
but
It's
the
early.
series is tied 2-2.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Drake running up and down the court? Do you think that's cool or not? I think it's tremendous. I think it makes basketball more interesting
come
when you have a guy like that running up and down. I do think it's a little bit crazy. Like,
You're sure
I don't
you're
understand.
You're sure you just don't want a massage? Because you saw him, he was massaging the
Oh,
the
yeah,
coach.
yeah. No, I don't want
What?
Drake to touch me. That's cool.
You're kidding me?
No, but what I don't understand is,
Didn't Drake get like
is he
arrested for
allowed
touching?
to do that? Like,
know.
is he an assistant coach of the Raptors? Here's
No,
what
he's
I-
an ambassador.
He's an
of the
ambassador.
What does that mean?
So he kind of works with the team, right? Like he's a mascot.
Yes, and
He's-
he's allowed to walk on the side to get to his to his seat.
But that's
is
not
that?
what
Is
he's
that-
doing.
Yeah, but that's
Well, I
celebrity
mean, maybe he's
privilege.
trying
That's
to go
not
get a
cool.
beer, and all of a sudden there's action happening, and he's excited, man.
Okay,
Come
but
on,
it's
cut
not
him a
cool.
break.
Listen, if
It
you
does
did
seem
that,
like
if you
he's
did that-
walking
him a
up and down
break.
the court. Now I
That's not
understand talking shit from the sidelines from your seat when you pay for a ticket, but he's like not
I like
he's not
it.
paying for his ticket,
Look,
right?
I'm a little.
why not?
Fred, explain to me this.
But
He's
why
not
not?
paying for his ticket
I have no clue.
because
but
he's
look,
like an ambassador for the team.
Look, I'm old enough to remember the days of
Antoinette's gonna
Spike
be-
Lee
Spike.
yelling things to Reggie Miller, and then Reggie Miller giving him the choke sign.
Yeah.
I mean, those were great, man. So
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, but did Spike Lee like get into the court
Milwaukee
and start
win.
walking?
Milwaukee win and stop crying. Okay, there's no crying in basketball.
Yeah,
there's no
quit-
crying in baseball. There's no crying in basketball. Win.
No. I don't know about that.
Yeah, quit being a bitch, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Started from the bottom, now you suck.
Ooh, that's. I didn't say that. Hashtag not me, man. That's Dave. That's not cool.
Yeah,
dude.
that's Dave.
Milwaukee, man.
Well, come on, go Raptors,
They
man.
have
They're
great beer in
Canada's.
Milwaukee, man. Don't fool around with the beer in Milwaukee.
I gotta say, go Raptors. They're Canada's only basketball team, and I see a lot of people bitching about Drake, and most of the people I see bitching about Drake
Didn't you-
are bitches themselves.
Didn't they just
Have you
buy
guys
What's up?
ever seen like when the Raptors play in Toronto? They got this Raptor Park in front where they have the big giant screen and there's like thousands of people in
Yeah,
front.
that's pretty cool,
It
actually.
looks
Yeah, it
pretty
looks
cool,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
Man, I'm happy for the Raptors. The Raptors are what, a couple games away from the NBA Finals? Is that the deal? This is the Eastern Conference
2 wins away.
Championship. Yeah, go Raptors, man. Like, I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I'm seeing a lot of people talking about Drake. I'm seeing that the Raptors are still in it. I know they were down 2-0, right? And now they're back. It's 2-2. Man, that guy, how do you pronounce his name?
Kawhi.
Kawhi?
What?
It's
So what?
It's Kawhi.
How do you
What?
pronounce? How do you spell? It's like Kawhi, right?
Kawhi.
Yeah. Kawhi.
Instead of a
Okay.
Y, it's a I, but it's still Kawhi.
I thought it was like
Kawhi.
Kawahi. I didn't know because I don't watch basketball, so I don't hear the announcers say his name. I don't listen to people talking about him. I just see his name written, so I'm like Kawhi. I didn't know his name. Kawhi. What's his last name?
Leonard.
Well, that gentleman made an unbelievable shot at the buzzer in Game 7 to push Toronto into this next round. It was one of the most amazing things
awesome.
I've
It was
ever
Game 6,
seen.
but it was great.
Was it Game 6? Okay, well, what do I know, man? I'm not watching basketball,
MMA
brother.
guy, man.
I'm a pro
Wrestling
wrestling guy. I'm an MMA guy. I don't watch this kind of stuff. But that shot was so cool because it was at the buzzer. The game was tied, and it went ding, 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 and then it went boom into the net. I even told the great Phil Jelena at the Gamma Gym
Phil.
about that shot. I was like, Phil, do you see that basketball shot last night? And he's like, no, he doesn't watch basketball. He's a martial arts guy like me, right? But
4 bounces.
yeah, 4 bounces, and then it went in. Very cool.
It's like, what is it, Blinko on the Price
Fred,
is
you
Right?
watch sports, eh?
Yes, I do.
Fred watches sports. Like, I don't watch sports. AJ doesn't really watch sports.
I
No,
don't
I
watch
sports.
hockey.
I watch MMA.
No,
Watch
I
the
know.
boxing.
But we don't watch anything other than combat sports, right?
But I'm
Not
an
really.
American at heart. I watch American sports, and I watch a little soccer, but
Pledge
I don't
allegiance.
watch hockey, unfortunately.
Let me tell
But you watch
something.
like football. Do you watch football?
Yeah, I'll watch
like
it.
you pay attention to
I
football,
follow it,
basketball?
and once the playoff starts, that's where I'll
like
watch
Muscles
most.
Mark.
You know, I do-
Muscles is like a big football fan.
I will say
He's a cheesehead.
I do watch baseball, but I only
love
watch
baseball.
I only watch
like
one
baseball.
team.
The Expos back in the day.
No,
Red Sox.
the New York Yankees.
He's a Yankees fan.
By the
That's
way,
all right.
the first place New York Yankees, first place in the AL East.
Defending champions.
Hey,
Red
listen,
Sox.
did you
Yeah,
hear?
how many championships do the Red Sox have?
Actually,
In the last 10 years, much
Come back
more.
to me when you got 27.
Dave, did you hear like today's news that they
Go
wanna bring back
Yankees.
the base? Like they want to seriously bring back like the Expos to Montreal.
You mean
They're looking-
yesterday's news?
Was it yesterday's or today's?
So,
Same thing.
Bronfman bought land, like a group that Bronfman is a
Yeah.
part of, bought land near the Peel Basin, which is where they say they're going to build a new baseball stadium.
This is getting serious.
So there
now.
is talk of building a new baseball stadium. They bought the land for it. All we need is, the money for the stadium and also a team. A team would be nice. I know the Tampa Rays are looking for a stadium, and a lot of people want the Tampa Rays
but
to
it-
come here.
But Dave, it's $900 million for that.
You know what team I
That's
wish
the
could-
problem.
Tampa Rays just lost 2 or 3 to the New York Yankees. I'm saying, do we want them? Do we need them? They suck. They can't even. Well, I mean, they're losing to the greatest franchise in all of sports. So no
sometimes they
shame,
talk,
but
sometimes they talk about
go Yankees.
the A's moving, and I would love to get the A's to
The
Montreal.
Oakland
'cause-
A's?
Yeah, because that's
That'd be
a
awesome.
franchise when I was young that was good with Ricky Anderson, Jose
Jose Canseco,
Canseco,
man.
McGuire,
The best,
Dave
man.
Anderson, Dave Stewart.
Steroids, baby.
Yeah, man, but that's the team from my
Wow,
childhood.
steroids.
So
I mean,
if they were to move to Montreal, I would keep the A's name.
What do you
I wouldn't
mean? I
even
mean-
rename them the Expos. I would just keep them as the Montreal A's.
what? No, Fred,
Oh, it
you
would
can't do
Montreal
that.
Athletics.
Yeah, why not?
That no.
It'd be great,
Les
man.
Athletiques de Montréal.
Listen, if
be
baseball's coming
great.
back to Montreal, you got
Les A's.
What,
Les
A's?
As.
Les As. Les As.
There you go.
Les As. That doesn't
Let's
sound
go.
good. Les As.
As. Let's go.
Well, that's
Les
what-
As.
that's
Let's
what-
go. Les As. Let's go. Les As.
Come on, man. Montreal Expos, you can't do that.
No, you got to call them the Expos if
It's
they
like
come
when,
back.
if hockey comes back to Quebec, you got to keep the Quebec Nordiques.
Yeah,
you
I
can't
agree.
call them les Quebec.
Well,
les
look-
Quebec. What do you want to call
Quebecers.
Les Quebec Quebecers. Je connais
The
pas, là.
Quebecers. We're not the
How about the Quebec
Mounties.
GSPs?
We're
No.
handsome. We're brave. We're strong. These are kind of like the Mountie sunglasses. We're not the Mounties because we enforce the law. You could try to run, but you could never hide. Unlike the Mounties, we always get our man.
Been there, done that. Okay, so
Raptors are up.
are they?
Go Raptors.
Listen, let me give you a scenario here.
Give me your scenario.
Basketball. If you take the Toronto Raptors, okay, versus the greatest team that ever played basketball.
Chicago Bulls in the
Harlem
90s.
Globetrotters.
Exactly. The Harlem Globetrotters. So you take the Raptors against the best basketball team
What
in the
the
last,
fuck are
I
you
think,
talking
100
about?
years, the Harlem Globetrotters.
All right.
Raptors are losing, man.
It's past your
This is the
bedtime.
Harlem Globetrotters.
We're done
What
with
happened
you.
to Curly? You remember Curly? Had no hair?
I went to see the Harlem Globetrotters once in Montreal.
too.
I left at halftime. It
Come
was
on,
awful.
Fred. That's
It
was
was
all right.
awful. It's for kids.
I thought it was a
That's what it's
decent
all-
show, but
It
I
was-
think I
Yeah,
went when
man.
I was a kid.
The guy missed the half court shot like 20 times in a row, and he never ended up doing
Yeah,
it.
but that's the new Harlem
was so
guys. The old
disappointing.
guys would have never missed. The 70 Harlem.
I'm talking
80
about like
Harlem.
20 years ago.
What? That's with Curly then.
All right, AJ, it's past your bedtime. We're going to wrap this sucker up.
Give me my pills.
Give me your pills.
Gotta go to sleep.
All right, AJ. Thanks, everybody, for
Glenn,
watching.
PRT.
Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to our boy Glenn for sending us these cool
Glenn
Glenn WO
WO
t-shirts. When you're Glenn WO, you're Glenn WO
For life.
For life. Whoop.
Oh, let me do the
Life.
G side. How do I do the G, Glenn? G, Glenn.
There you go.
Chokes
Thank you,
and
everybody.
jokes.
Chokes and jokes. It's kind of what you're all about, isn't it, AJ?
It's all about saying a joke as you choke.
There you go. Championship squad over here, guys with the belts. Let's go. Fred, belt up.
Let's go.
No way.
Oh, yeah,
Jose.
no way.
No way. Jose. No way. Jose.